In the last stream, we were working on finally automating the production of steel ingots utilizing these new and improved blast furnaces. And we also, right at the end of the last stream, finally managed to fully automate the production of mechanical research. We also put down a few more of our burner researchers once again, just to speed up the production of that mechanics research. And so now we do have, I think, close to a stack, if not just over a stack, of mechanics research ready to go, which is incredibly useful. We have 66, nice, because we need to unlock a couple of things today if we want to push forward. So as I mentioned at the end of the last episode, the first thing that I think I want to work on in today's stream is I would like to unlock the electric drills. Those guys are down under research upgrades, and it's this one, the powered drill. It requires 32 logistics research and 16 mechanics research. It says the burner drill is great and all, but it's hard to keep so many of them fueled. The powered drill works faster than burner drills and uses electricity instead of fuel. So we can now make the higher tier drill. That is this one right here, the drill component. You do need 9 of these as opposed to the 8 of the previous drill, and these are built slightly differently. To craft one, we need 4 heavy engineering blocks, 4 burner drill components, and a machine frame. So I'll quickly bookmark this, and then let's see if we can't make that happen. The 4 heavy engineering blocks, I think, are going to be by far and away the hardest part here. We do have a little bit of gold, and I think we have a little bit of silver. We do. It is just currently not in its smelted form. So let's do something like this. I do want to make sure, again, that we keep at least 1 silver around at all times so we can find more with the storage scanner, and then we'll just take a little bit of coal, craft that down, of course, and drop that into here. One thing I did notice between streams, we are completely out of storage space. All of our chests here are just completely full. There's a few reasons for that. One of them is that we've got a lot of iron in here that should really be in this drawer, but again, the iron is just full up. So now, whenever we take iron out and put iron back in, the furnaces here are all ready to dump iron into this drawer. So whenever I take, a little bit of iron out to craft with, whenever I put it back in after that, it just goes back into these chests. So there are a few things we could do here. We could look at getting a gold to diamond chest upgrade, that being this one right here. That shouldn't be too difficult because now we do have glass automated. So let's take just a couple of these. That's going to make our gold chest that little bit bigger. And then we could look at upgrading our iron chests to gold chests. The only problem with that is that we really don't have that much gold. You see, we've got 4 here, and then I think we have a little bit more gold lying around somewhere. I'm not quite sure if this chest has any inside of it. It does. We've got 18 there, which is not insignificant. We also actually have a little bit of nickel as well, which is also pretty useful because of the fact that we did unlock these thermal upgrade kits, which, as we saw previously, do also require the use of nickel. So I might hold on to both of these, though, because I'm thinking what I might do before the end of today's stream is look at getting another pulverizer so that we can get more out of all of the silver, gold, and nickel that we currently have. We could try and multiply those by 2.5 as opposed to doing a 1-to-1 trade. For now, though, back over in our alloy kilns, we'll put in 1 gold and 1 silver in each of those, and we'll do the same over here, 1 gold and 1 silver with a little bit of tiny coal in both of those. That should make 2 electrum, which should be enough for 4 heavy engineering blocks. On top of that, we are going to need some steel, and so what I might do is I might temporarily disable the inserting of steel into, also this is a trap that I've fallen into multiple times now. Let me fill that in, and then let me quickly grab a single piece of dirt from the system so that I can quickly fill in that hole, because I keep falling down it, and it's not intentional, but we do need more steel if we are going to make the heavy engineering blocks, because each one requires 4 steel ingots and then 2 steel mechanical components. Again, we need 4 heavy engineering blocks, and so we need 4 steel mechanical components, which requires a total of 8 steel plates. So we're going to need 8 steel plates plus 8 steel ingots for a total of 16 steel in total, which might take a little bit of time to come through. We've got 3 already, and then we have 6 more in our inventory. So we're just over halfway there. While we wait for that to finish, the other thing we need is the machine frame, which is actually kind of easy. Again, the only thing, though, is we need more steel mechanical components. And so I think we are going to have to temporarily put that drill component on the back burner whilst we wait for steel to come in. The next question, though, is how are we going to power them? And as again I mentioned at the end of the last episode, I think our best option in terms of powering the electric drills is going to be solar panels. Because although we could just build out more water wheels, the water wheels don't really produce that much power, and we would need 2 water wheels just to fuel 1 solar panel. On top of that, getting power from the water wheels over to the drills is a bit of a pain. Again, we could build 2 water wheels directly next to the drill, but then eventually the drill will dry up, it'll have to move, and then we'd have to either move the water wheels, which is incredibly tedious, or we'd have to run a bunch of these energy pylons over to wherever we then place the drill. And so I think the better solution is probably going to be to look at the solar panel section of the power research quest, because this is going to allow us to unlock, I think, up to tier 3 solar panels. It is going to cost us a little bit of logistics research, but we do have quite a lot of that available to us. And so if we do this, the next tier does require 16 mechanics research, and I'm not quite sure why, but the numbers on the quests here are not accurate, at least not all of them. The first one is accurate. The first tier of solar panel does produce 1 redstone flux per tick, which is incredibly bad. We need 150 of these in order to power 1 drill. That's obviously not going to happen. However, the tier 2 version produces 4 RF per tick, which is slightly better. However, the next tier after that, the tier 3 solar panel, I'm fairly certain actually produces 32 RF per tick instead of the 16 claimed in the quest book here. And so if we can get to that tier, which we definitely can, let me just go ahead and submit. The next tier here does only produce 16. That is interesting. In my test world, this was different. So I imagine that what's happened here is that these have been nerfed in the newer versions of the pack, which is interesting and does make these a lot less useful than they were previously. But that should be fine. I think that's still a good idea, simply because of the fact that you can stack them on the drills fairly easily, and then we can move them fairly easily if the drill ever needs moving as well. And they are a little tedious to craft, but they're not particularly expensive. They mostly just require iron, glass, redstone, and copper in all of its various forms, and then you take these, you can upgrade them to the tier 2. Again, it's just more of the same. It's more iron, glass, redstone, and copper, and then it's only at tier 3 where we start to introduce the steel and treated wood, as well as a little bit of electrum and some diamonds. So I think that should be fine. Between streams, I did move the redstone drill. So the redstone drill previously was connected kind of right next to this chest here. It was like right here. I've since moved it back by 1 chunk because now it is producing more redstone. If we check this chunk, it still has a little bit of redstone in it, which is good. And you'll see here, we're actually backing up on redstone, which leads me to believe that this chest over here is probably completely full of redstone. Also, the cart has stopped, which is probably our main concern here. But if we can get that going again, there we go. We should hopefully see a decent amount of redstone over in this chest. Yeah, it's not quite full, but there is a fair amount of it ready to go. And so we should be able to get some decent solar panels. Let's have a look. The first tier here requires copper coal blocks, which I'm actually just going to straight up steal out of here because we've got a ton of them being made for us. We might as well take use of what we have. And then we've kind of got to decide how many of these we want to make. If we're going to power an electric drill on solar energy, we need 10 of these tier 3 solar panels. You make them in sets of 2, so we need 5 lots of this recipe. 5 lots of this recipe means that we need 20 of these tier 2 solar panels. These, again, are made in sets of 2, so we need 10 lots of this recipe, which means that we need 40 tier 1 solar panels, again, made in sets of 2. We need 20 of each item here. So we need 40 copper coal blocks, 20 redstone servos. That is going to be very doable. We then need 40 copper solenoids, and then 60 mirrors, which is where our preparation previously and our current 243 glass is going to come in extremely useful. Once we have all of that, we should then be able to shift-click that in, and that should be everything for the required solar panels. Nice. We've got 40 tier 1 solar panels. Upgrading those to tier 2, as we saw before, we need, I think, 10 lots of this. So we need 10 of these redstone engineering blocks, which is not going to be a problem, just copper, iron, and redstone. And then we need another stack of these mirrors, which, again, we can just shift-click. And are we already out of glass? That shouldn't surprise me. We do have a few extra mirrors, but we have just tanked through that glass so incredibly quickly. That is not ideal. We can get quite a few of these. We are going to have to craft up some redstone blocks. Again, I think 10 is the number that we need here, but it looks like we might have to do a lot more glass smelting if we're going to get some of these higher tier solar panels, because we only have what it takes here to make 14 of them, and we did need 20, which is not too many more, so we should hopefully be able to get there somewhat quickly. And then, of course, the tier 3 solar panel here requires more steel in the form of the heavy engineering block and the machine frame. And so what I might do is, once again, kind of repivot back over to here. We've now got a fair bit more steel, and so we should be able to actually get this drill up and running. So the drill here required another machine frame. That's 4 steel mechanical components, and then we need an extra 4, so 8 steel mechanical components in total to make both of the sets of heavy engineering block and the machine frame. 8 multiplied by 2 is 16. We need 16 steel plates. Boom, there's the steel plates, and I think copper is the only other resource we need. In here, we do have to swap out the blueprint back to the crafting components blueprint, because currently it is on the metal press mold blueprint. Boom, and boom, and boom. Nice. Okay, so with that, let's get our machine frame. Boom. And then let's also see if we can't get 2 lots of heavy engineering blocks. Over here, of course, the electrum is done. And so it's just a case of crafting 4 pistons. And of course, as per usual, we do not have any wood. All right, once again, a little bit of wood later. We should now be able to make a total of 4 pistons, which we can then craft into 2 lots of heavy engineering blocks. And that is everything, I'm pretty sure, yes, for the drill. Now, the only thing we're missing is the actual drill components. So over here, I'm going to go ahead and break this iron drill. So we'll pick up all of these pieces. We need to use 4 of these to craft up the next tier of drill. So the next tier of drill, as I mentioned, is also bigger as well. But this cable is no longer needed because this cable is used to bring fuel up to the drill. But of course, the electric drill doesn't require it. So in our remote, we can do 1, 2, 3, 4. Get the drill components, and then unlike the previous drill, this drill goes down in a 3x3 fashion, so something a little bit like this. And so now all we have to do is connect power to this, and just like before, we want to make sure we shift right-click to set the drill output, and then we can put you back on there like that, and once this receives power and a drill head, it will start generating iron. Now, you don't necessarily need to give it the full 150. It will work on less than 150 RF per tick, but it just won't work at its maximum speed. Real quick, how much more glass do we have? I assume the answer is basically none, because the glass does come in surprisingly slowly. It is enough to make like 1 or 2 more or 3 more mirrors, which is actually enough to make like 1 more set of solar panels here. That gets us to 16 out of 18, but if we want to upgrade to the next tier, we need even more mirrors to make these. Not only do we need 3 glass per mirror, we then need 3 more glass per photovoltaic cell. So we're a little ways away from the next tier of mirror. One thing you can do is you can connect these together. So each one of these produces 4 RF per tick, and we do have 16 of them. And so that is 64 RF in total. What we could do here, even though it's not going to be great, is we could go ahead and throw down all of these next to each other, because the way the solar panels work is that they do pass their power to the adjacent solar panel. So if you do something like this, this will pass power into the drill, but then if you do this, this solar panel will connect to form like one giant multi-block solar panel that will then pass power into the drill component. And so I'm fairly certain that if we did something like this, we could then use all of these solar panels to slowly but surely make that drill just a little bit faster. You'll see the more that we add, the more this starts to spin. And again, although it's not at its full speed yet, this is kind of the general premise. But my hope is that as we get more steel here, and most importantly, as we get more glass, we can then start to condense that down into fewer and fewer solar panels until eventually we get to the point where we could just put 1 solar panel on a drill and kind of set it and forget it. So we do have 377 sand here, so I think what I might do is just quickly grab that and begin kind of using that over here. One thing people have been suggesting for a while that I think is a good idea is to make another external heater, which I might put down kind of right about here, and just use that as kind of a personal smelting heater, because right now, whenever we run out of fuel, I have to go and get more coal and craft it down, and it's a whole thing. Whereas if I were to just grab a 4th furnace here, we could do the same thing we've done before, where we do 1, 2, 3, and of course I've put this down the wrong way. I do it every time. Let's quickly make sure that the energy input is facing upwards, which you do by not shift right clicking, Isaac, you jump and just right click. There we go, perfect. This here with an LV wire connector is essentially going to allow us to smelt all of our kind of general purpose smelting for free going forward without any kind of fuel. And just a quick one of these, boom, and boom, is going to do the trick. And so now we can just throw a stack of sand into each one of these furnaces, and that is going to slowly but surely smelt up even more glass for us that we can use in the future to make some of these photovoltaic cells for the higher tier solar panels. All right, so a little while later, I have set up some basic automation here for this kind of personal use furnace cluster. We have one chest at the top. That's where we're going to put anything we want to smelt, and then down here at the bottom is where all of the smelted wares get deposited once they're done. And so now, if we want to make more glass, we can just take any sand from here and dump it in that chest, and that is exactly what we've done. We've turned all of our sand into glass. Again, we are so light on space here, mostly due to the fact that we've got so much like dirt and coal and redstone clogging up in here. It might not be a terrible idea for us to look at getting a few more storage drawers for some of those key resources that we have a lot of fairly soon. What I'm hoping, though, is that we might be able to start condensing down some of these solar panels. So I'm going to go ahead and pick these up, and then we'll see if we can't get to the 20 tier 2 solar panels that we needed, and then from there we can hopefully look, now that we've backed up on steel a bit as well, at making at least a few of these tier 3 solar panels. Again, it's just more crafting of steel into plates, and then into mechanical components, into heavy engineering blocks, and then into those tier 3 solar panels. So if we're going to make 4 more of these solar panels, that means we need 6 more mirrors, which means we need to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. That should be everything for the remaining sets of mirrors. That takes us to 20. Cool. And 20 should be able to craft down into 5 lots of this recipe, which is then 10 tier 3 solar panels, which is actually enough to power the drill. So yeah, for that we are going to need 15 diamonds, and we have 32, which is perfect. So, to make that a reality, we first, once again, need 15 more of these, which I think is very doable here. Once we've got 15 regular mirrors, we just then need to upgrade those into these photovoltaic cells, which should be very straightforward. It is indeed. That gets us only 5 of them, though. That's because my mathematics is wildly incorrect here, because this is a 3-to-1 recipe, not a 3-to-3 recipe. So we actually need 45 mirrors, which means I need 30 more of these that we can then craft down into 15 photovoltaic cells. And with that, we actually don't have enough diamonds. We can only make 10 of these photovoltaic cells, which is a bit of a pain. Shouldn't be too much of a problem, though. I'm fairly certain that we do have some more diamonds pretty close by. We just need to move one of our burner drills. And so, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and quickly see if we can't get some more diamonds from another drill. And then I'll also quickly see if we can't make some more machine frames and some more heavy engineering blocks to get these tier 3 solar panels. So I've set up another burner drill here, and I was just about to steal the iron drill head from this drill to fuel and use this drill here. However, one of the pieces of research we can complete is the diamond drill head. So it says here, the steel drill head is better than the iron drill head in every way. It will mine up more types of ore. The problem with it is that you might not want it to mine everything. Sometimes you just want to mine up the first tier of ores, like copper and iron, while ignoring nickel and lead, but the iron drill is too slow. So basically, the iron drill is what we started with. The steel drill, that we currently have one of, is what we're using to mine gold, lead, silver, nickel, etc. But if we hand in 32 logistics research here, we unlock the diamond drill, which is essentially an upgraded version of the iron drill, in that it only mines the first tier of stuff, iron, copper, diamonds, redstone, etc. It doesn't mine gold, lead, nickel, platinum, whatever else the second tier is, but it's faster than the iron drill. The problem, of course, is that it does require 4 blocks of diamonds, and so we've got a bit of a chicken and egg problem here. I was hoping to use it to get diamonds faster, but it does make complete sense that the diamond drill does require diamonds. And so hopefully we're going to get quite a few diamonds from this. People have been shouting at me in the YouTube comments for putting tiny coal in here, and with good reason. The regular coal will just last a whole heck of a lot longer. And so right here, we do have 164 diamonds in this chunk. It is going to take a little while for those to come in. We don't need that many more for the remaining 5 photovoltaic cells, but hopefully before long we've got enough diamonds to make the upgraded drill, thus making this faster. And you can also put that, of course, into the other drills as well, like this one here, to make this faster at the cost of no extra power, which would be pretty useful. And so while we wait for this to get us the diamonds, I'm going to go and make all of the steel components and whatnot required for those tier 3 solar panels. Okay, so a little bit of crafting later. We have everything we need to make this, apart from the diamonds. The diamonds are coming in somewhat slowly. I have added a second drill here to speed up diamond production. We need 15 diamonds. We've managed to get 4 in the time it took me to make all of the other parts. And so what I'm going to do while we wait for that is quickly pivot over here and take the 64 mechanics research that we have and see about finally getting this sequential fabricator here. So it is a very expensive upgrade, but it is going to increase the speed at which we can produce steel, because right now we are fully out of coal coke. The whole system is just out of the stuff. And if we can get this auto workbench upgraded to a much faster sequential fabricator, we should be able to increase the speed at which we make coal coke. That, combined with the electric drills, is going to hopefully massively increase the speed at which we get steel, which in turn is going to feed into getting more mechanics research going forward. So let's go ahead and hand that in. And then we do need to craft up 32 8x logistics research. And so we're going to have to take all of the logistics research we have and craft it up into a bunch of 8x logistics research, which it turns out is exactly the right amount. Perfect. So back in here, let's do this. And now we can look at making the sequential fabricator, which is essentially just an electronic version of the auto workbench we just have, which I believe is going to be faster by default, but much like all of the other machines from thermal expansion, is also upgradable to be even faster in the future. We do need some gold for that. That's completely fine. We do have a new processing setup over here, so we can do that, and the gold will appear here momentarily. And we are going to have to power this, but I think we're doing okay. One of the things I have done in this stream is I have connected up everything to the same network. So now all of our water wheels are connected up to each other, and so they're all sharing the same power everywhere, which is good. Back over here, we have the gold, and so let's see if we can't get that redstone reception coil. We can indeed, and then from there we can make ourselves a sequential fabricator. Nice. So let's go ahead and see about replacing this auto workbench. I think just using the carry-on mod is going to make it the easiest swap out, and then in here, power might be a little tricky, although I guess what we could potentially do is grab an LV wire connector, place that down like that, and then if we do something like this, and then maybe like that, yeah, I had a feeling that was going to be in the way. That is unfortunate. This is going to break momentarily. That is fine. We might have to just do a little bit of a janky workaround here, where we maybe do something like this, and then do this, and then if we can get one more LV wire connector, we can then run that over. I am, of course, going to grab some hemp here just to make sure that we don't die to electric shocks. Boom and boom. So this is going to get power. In here, we do have to set the recipe, just like we did before. That recipe, of course, is coal coke and torches. Do we have any coal coke in the system? We do not. That would have been far too easy. We do, however, have some in here, of course. And I just now realized that this workbench is not permanent, so I'm going to have to move that and find a new place for that LV wire relay. Either way, though, over in here, we're going to say that 1 stick and 1 coal coke equals a torch and tick. And then, unlike the auto workbench, the sequential fabricator, unfortunately, doesn't automatically lock its slots, which is not ideal. However, I am fairly certain that there is an upgrade that we can make, this one right here, the pattern validation augment, that is going to allow us to kind of do the same thing with this machine. So if we make the pattern validation augment, we can then put that into the sequential fabricator. In the thermal expansion machines, we do have slots for augmentation, like that. And now, if we set that to tick, it should, I'm pretty sure, lock certain slots to certain inputs. You'll see here it says 2 slots are designated for each crafting slot. So now, if we go ahead and set the back of this to input, it should then start receiving sticks and coal coke. The only trouble, of course, is that we don't actually have any sticks and coal coke here. So let me quickly revamp this system. I'm going to take 3 stacks of coal, and we'll throw those into the coke oven. So that's going to get that portion back online. And of course, the way this is supposed to work is that the sticks are supposed to go from the sawmill into the sequential fabricator, because again, this does have a higher priority. And so if I do this and this, we should start to see these get crafted much, much faster than they were previously. And then, of course, if we set the right-hand side here to output by making it orange, over here, that's going to start processing all of those torches into coal, and you'll see that already the sequential fabricator is now much faster than the sawmill is, and so now the sawmill is our bottleneck. We could look to rectify that. I don't currently know how much power we're using out of the power that we're producing from our water wheels, but we could look at getting a hardened upgrade kit to make the sawmill faster. For that, we need Invar and we need bronze. Bronze we've made before. It is 3 copper and 1 tin ingot inside of our alloy smelter, like this. And then the Invar is 2 iron and 1 nickel gets you 3 Invar. We need 4 Invar. So we are going to need 4 iron and 2 nickel. Nickel, of course, again, we have in ore form, but not in ingot form. That's fine. We'll go throw that into our processing chest up there. While that processes, let me go quickly see how we're doing on diamonds. We got 13. That's very close to the 15 that we need. And actually, we have 2 in the system, so never mind. We should be able to craft 5 more of these photovoltaic cells, which should, in theory, then give us everything that we need in order to craft all of these solar panels. The only thing that we're going to be missing is 1 more machine frame, because we used our previous machine frame to make the sequential fabricator that we just placed down. And so it looks like we just need 3 more steel mechanical components, which is 6 steel plates, which we can do, of course, like this, along with some copper inside of the work table. We'll go boom and boom, take those, craft up 1 more machine frame, and craft up the final solar panel. Nice. So now we have 10 of these, and 10 of these is just enough to power 1 drill. So now we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And so that should be working at full capacity. That should be going at full speed, making iron really as fast as it can. I can't help but notice that it's not spinning, although I'm fairly certain that it should be. If you take the iron out, the power goes up a lot faster, so the power is being used, and I assume that if we were to check on this, we should see stuff being made, assuming that there is still iron in here, but there is not. We have fully depleted all of the iron in this area, which is probably for the best, because it means that now, instead of having to set up a new area that we have to send coal to, we can just move this whole setup to a new iron chunk, and we can just move what's here, and that is going to produce everything that we need. It's actually a shame that it needs 10, because 9 would fit so nicely on top of the drill here. It'd make like a nice hat for the drill, but we do indeed need 10 to make it work. 9 just doesn't quite get there. So we'll take a look at some point at moving that into a new chunk. For now, though, let's go check on the nickel, which should be done over in here. It is indeed. And then we'll go and we'll drop some of that in over in the alloy kiln. The bronze is done. We'll do 1 and 2, like that. And then again, 2 and 1. Perfect. The bronze does need to be crafted into a bronze gear, like so. And then, yeah, that's basically everything. We just need to wait for the Invar to be done, which thankfully is nice and fast. Boom, and boom. And by installing this into the sawmill, it's going to take its power usage up from 20 to 40 RF per tick, but in doing so, it's going to make it twice as fast. And it's going to give it more augmentation slots for the future, because there are augments like the flux linkage amplifier, which I think is this one right here. I think we do have to unlock it with research, as you may have guessed. And so we could use that to make it even faster in the future. I am not too sure if this is faster or not now, like if the sawmill is faster than the sequential fabricator or not yet. I don't think it is. I think the sequential fabricator is still keeping up just fine, but we should now see that despite the fact that we put the stack in a little while ago, it is keeping up. We're actually backing up on coal now, and we'll hopefully see coal start to back up in here as well. Of course, that's then going to back up downstairs, and eventually the plan is that if we can replace all of our drills, which currently is just the iron and copper drills, with electric drills, we can then get rid of the need for distributing coal via the underground minecart system, and then with that, we can pump even more coal into making steel, and of course, back over here, we want to make sure that all of that steel is, or some of that steel at least, is being turned into steel gears to make more mechanics research, because now it's basically a case of kind of pushing for aluminum. Over here in the main quest line, we get a capsule there for the advanced researcher, but the next big quest is aluminum. And that's kind of going to be the next steel. Steel was kind of the big milestone we were working towards at first. That unlocked a new age for us. As soon as we get aluminum, that's going to unlock another age for us as well. And to get that, we have to unlock this piece of research here for aluminum, which is 32 lots of 8x mechanics research, which is a total of 256 mechanics research, which is a lot. So we have a little ways to go on that. Hopefully it's going to come in fairly quickly now, much like it did with our logistics research. You know, we had almost 500 of that, I think, at the start of today's stream. So hopefully that's going to come in a little bit faster now that that steel is on its way. Let me just quickly check. We do have steel in here, right? And that steel is being sent around, I think, into here. Although we might have burned through it all already. Yeah, we have turned it all into steel gear. So there is still work to be done, of course. And we do definitely need a bigger power upgrade. So I think next time what we might have to do is come back. I still like the idea of using the solar panels for the drills just because they're so portable, but I think we might have to look at a fundamental upgrade to our power system, potentially utilizing the steam dynamos and boilers to get like a massive power upgrade. Right now we're producing a few hundred. We kind of really want to start looking at producing many hundreds, if not a few thousand redstone flux per tick, so we can do things like add the speed upgrades to the improved blast furnaces, make those faster, add the upgrades to the researchers here to make those faster, and potentially just put more of those down to start making research faster as well. And then, of course, adding things like the pulverizers to the ore processing setup to get 2.5x ore processing, and then even moving further on that as well to get even more than 2.5x ore processing would be ideal. And of course, as we speed up other machines like the sequential fabricators and the sawmills, we're going to need more power for all of that. So power is definitely, I think, our next big milestone, but that is a problem for future Isaac. For now, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this episode of Feed the Factory there.